Good morning, Suzuki Science, grade 11. So we made it to end of week 8. We're now about to start week 9. This video is to really celebrate and recap what happened last week. Wow, I had no idea that as a class, you guys collectively would find nearly or observe nearly 1,000. You made it to 937. That's a phenomenal number for 7 days of observation, because a lot of observation occurred over the weekend. As a class, you collectively found 461 species. That's remarkable. There's 461 species in 7 days. A group of 29. There's 29 members. I believe there was actually 23 students who participated, and you were able to basically invite 134 other people outside our class, scientists and naturalists and people who are always looking at different organisms, to come in and do proper identification of your species. What you're able to find was also very interesting. Of the 461 species, you'll notice that the majority were plants, right? And the observation, if we take a look at this and we go to the stats and we take a look at what you've actually found, the majority, 68% of the organisms you found were plants. And that's to be expected. They're generally easy to identify. There were 9 mollusks, snails and slugs, and most likely those two. We had 65 insects, which, being one of the hexapoda, being one of the groups within the arthropod, the most diverse of all the animal phyla, it's not a surprise that was the lion's share of our animals. We had 15 arachnids, which are also belonging to the arthropod phylum of the animal kingdom. We had 3 reptiles. Oh, I wonder what they were. I'll click on those in a moment. We had 22 species of birds, which the robin was the most common. 10 mammals and other animals. Okay, and fungi, 13. So it's pretty remarkable. Let's look at the number of amphibians. We had those 2 amphibians that were found. They were frogs, and I believe, the American toad and the leopard frog, northern leopard frog, was found. I don't see it listed here, so that's odd. And we had, reptiles, 3 reptiles. So we had that snapping turtle that Carly had found, and then the painted turtle was seen a couple of times in the Brampton area. So that was very interesting too. The fungi wasn't as easy to spot. Depending on which woods you went to, the shelf fungi was pretty popular. And anyway, it was just, you guys were able to find a lot. And as you did this exercise, what I'm interested in knowing is, what organism did you find that you didn't expect to find, that you thought was kind of remarkable or very interesting? It had something interesting about it. As you walked around, do you think that you could look at a maple tree and say, hey, that's a sugar maple, that's a Norway maple, that's a Manitoba maple? Did you even know there was more than one type of maple tree? Quite a few of them. Do you think you can recognize the various types of plants and arthropods and amphibians and birds in your area? Some of you did do ornamental plants that were not natural. They're located in a garden. So those ones, in our activity, I guess we let them slide. But there were quite a few organisms, plants especially, that are not natural, not naturally found. Let's see, what else? Human. Someone did a human. Who did human? Oh, let's click on that. Human. Who did human? Observed. 11 observations. Nahard. I don't even know who that is. All right. And I want to share something that I found that was interesting for me specifically. So if we look at my observations here and go back to the overview here, and let's click on me. So I threw down the gauntlet, right? I said, you guys are not going to find more than I was. And oh, wow, I was so wrong. If we look at our placement here, let me just go back to our placement and go in a reverse order. We'll see that, as I said, we had 23 observers, so 23 of you participated. And as we go up the list here, we had, I believe, Kezia, I believe you were 10th, if I remember correctly. Was it Harmoheat? One of you two. And then Mac, I don't even know where you came from, because I don't remember seeing on the list like 2 days ago. So you went out and you dropped down 27 different species, so that was really cool. Oops, let me just organize it by species here. Yeah, Nushrat, you were 10th. And Kezia was 9th. Charmy, you were 8th. Mac came out of nowhere for 7th. Manroop was 8th with 32. Vanessa, 37. Arij, 43. Then Carly got pushed down slightly, down to with a 61. Ava, you found quite a few this weekend, I guess on Sunday specifically, that put you up to 3rd. Kavisha, almost 100, 2 away, 98. And then Kriti, I don't know where you found 145 different species from, but 145 species in 7 days is pretty remarkable. All of you, the fact that you were outside, I hope you had a good time with the activity. So I just want to point you at something that I discovered in my last observations here. So my last set of observations, we went to I live in an area where there's lots of gorges and there's a lot of conservation areas around me. If anyone ever comes to Hamilton and goes to Webster's Falls and RBG, I live in that kind of area. And one of the things that we found when we were in the RBG, they had this sign, right? Poison ivy, and in this area, they have poison ivy. So it's perfect. The sign's in exactly the place it's supposed to be. And it tells you leaves of 3, let it be, don't touch it. There's oils on these plants that if they get on your skin, they can cause a rash. They get on your skin, you start rubbing your eye, it can be really, really painful. So I recognize poison ivy. I've seen it many times, but a lot of times I don't really pay attention. But leaves of 3, you're on a trail, let it be. That's kind of the saying. And then when I came home, on our deck, I was looking at one of the plants, and I noticed on my deck that there's this plant peeking out from underneath our deck right against where we step out of our door. And I was like, wait a second, that has 3 leaves. It's not the same, but let me check with my Seek app and on iNaturalist. And it turns out we had poison ivy growing right by our door as we leave our back door onto our deck. And in the last 2 or 3 days with all the sunshine and heat and water, it really flourished. So it wasn't this high a week ago. So this app, if I was going to say there's anything interesting for me in this past week, was leading to the discovery of poison ivy directly outside our door from our bedroom to our backyard. And yeah, so now I know it's gone. Cut it down, and it is not going to be a problem anymore. And I'll be a little bit more vigilant. So I'm curious as to you, what did you discover? And what is it that you are able to look at now and recognize immediately that that is a gypsy moth that's invasive, or that is a particular kind of birch tree, or okay, so feel free to share. So on the instructions, you'll go now to the regular video and you'll see the digestive system. I know many of you are, kind of stepping back in terms of what workload and what you want to produce and whatnot, and that's perfectly fine. But I also know that the digestive system, the respiratory system, the circulatory system, the human body is what many of you took biology for. So I'm assuming I'm still going to put in the effort to make sure that you have a good experience so that you can learn all about these systems. In grade 12 biology, we learn about osmoregulation with the kidneys, thermoregulation with homeostasis, endocrine system, which is all over your body, really complex, nervous system, even more complex, it's got the brain in there, and the immune system. So we do come back to systems in grade 12. We do not cover these 3 systems in the same kind of detail. However, we will rely on some knowledge from grade 11 into grade 12 to understand those other 6 systems. So it's a new week, and if you're feeling that you're overwhelmed with everything that's going on in the world and you're not able to focus on your studies, I get it, right? I totally get it. But I did spend some time putting this lesson together, and I'm hoping that you find it interesting and that when you walk out of here a week later, they'll know more about the digestive system than when you went in. It's color-coded as it was before with green, yellow, and purple. So green is the bare minimum. It gets you the absolute minimum knowledge that you should know when you walk out. And there's a couple of interesting engaged greens here as well. And yellow is more of the complete, and purple is, it's the same deal that we've been doing before. So I also mentioned the next PowerPoint. I'll mention it here just in case you don't get to the second one. If you skim through the PowerPoint, you'll see a couple optional Google Meets. So if you want to talk about anything in particular that I did not go into detail in the lesson, then send me a message, find someone else in the class that you want to, go 1-on-2, 1-on-3, 1-on-4, whatever with, and we'll meet up anytime you'd like, and we'll talk about some interesting digestion experiences. Thank you, and I'll talk to you later.